Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. It's your man God of Dots back with another episode of The Audible. Hope everybody is having a good day. Hope you are having a good week. A little bit of housekeeping before we get the show started tonight. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. We'll be doing a Freestyle Friday show. You know I kind of like to mix the social with the sports, but I think it'll be a very worthwhile show. Hopefully, you can get it, interesting conversation, start a piece with that. But yeah, we will be doing that tomorrow. So, stay tuned for that for the Freestyle Friday. And as always, man, it's oh, boy. Hey, all right. So NBA returns tonight after the All-Star break. If you missed the All-Star recap, my All-Star recap, make sure you check out the channel. Always like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Leave a comment, thumbs up, thumbs down. Doesn't matter to me. I enjoy the engagement. But yeah, make sure you check out the show. We did that on Tuesday. NBA action tips back off tonight, coming out of the All-Star break. And there's several questions I have, and I kind of want to share with the audience. They can kind of put your thinking caps on for tonight's show. About 7 to 8 questions coming out the second half of the season. We were reaching the home stretch. This is where teams kind of lock in, get buckled down. Trade deadline is over. All-Star is over. Teams are jockeying for position come playoff time. Teams are trying to get to the finish line in one piece and healthy, while also pushing for those high seeds, get that home court advantage. And it's like I said, it's several questions you got to have going into the back half of the season. I'm kind of jump around the league a little bit. Probably the first question I have is the state of the 76ers. 76ers, before Joel Embiid got hurt, we're looking like one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference, still, in my opinion, in that upper echelon of the Eastern Conference teams. But when you lose Joel Embiid, who was on a MVP run, make no mistake about it, before he got injured, Joel was clearly leading the pack as far as the MVP race was this season. Just didn't come together. He got hurt, and this is kind of like a recurring trend with Joel. He tends to get hurt for long stretches. He may be out for another month. I'm not sure if he even makes it back before the end of the season. Philadelphia, what do you make of their options and chances? All-Star break is over, trade deadline is over. The chance to go out there, maybe you can find a guy on the free agent market to help with the playoff push. But I think Philadelphia with no Embiid is a first round exit, in my opinion. In my opinion, I think if you don't have Joel Embiid out there on the court, and well as Tyrese Maxey has played this year, played himself into to an all-star, you just don't have enough firepower. And I think that's what it comes down to, because it's not like Philadelphia's a great lockdown defensive team. That's I don't look at Philadelphia 76ers. I don't look at their team and how they're kind of currently constructed. I don't look at them in the same vein that I would a Miami Heat team if they was to lose a star player. I know Miami, whether they have a star player out there or not, they're going to compete every night. They're going to play hard defense. I don't get that from Philly. And, no Embiid, like I said, I see this team first round. If you look at the Philadelphia 76ers, as they currently stand with no Joel Embiid, you're not picking them over the Celtics. You're not really going to pick them over the Bucks. You're not picking them over the Knicks, and you're not picking them over the Cavs. And when we're talking about the top 4 teams in the Eastern Conference right now, that's who you're talking about. I don't, no Joel Embiid. Philadelphia is out of here. And that leads to even more questions even after the season. What do you do with Joel Embiid? Does Joel force his way out of Philadelphia? Does he seek a trade? Does he, what's the future of Joel Embiid? This for me, this was a big season for Joel. You get rid of Harden at the beginning of the season. You get rid of that distraction. Philadelphia was playing very well. Like I said, Joel was leading the pack as far as the MVP. You saw the emergence of Tyrese Maxey, who has gotten better each year he's been in the league. But with no Embiid, I'm not picking Philadelphia to beat any of those 4 teams in a 7-game series. And right now, those are the top 4 teams in the Eastern Conference as we stand. And I like Maxey as a player. I like some of the pieces they have in Philadelphia. I'm not picking them in a 7-game series, like I said. And when you look at Philadelphia, a lot of the disappointments that they had over the past few seasons have always come with a Joel Embiid injury attached to it. Remember last year's playoffs, they were looking pretty good, looking strong, and then he gets hurt. You know, they pushed Boston to 7, but you can tell when Joel came back, it just was not the same player. And you have to be concerned if you're a franchise that's going to be pursuing Joel, because you know, hey, when he's out on the court and he's healthy, he is, as currently stands, the best player in the NBA. But that's the problem with Joel, and you know, he is a big man. He is a big man, and it's like every season he gets hurt, and he gets hurt for significant stretches of the time. You have to ask yourself, if you are a league GM or you are owner and you're thinking about, you know, trading the farm, first round draft picks, young talent to bring in a Joel Embiid, can you depend on him to make it through a season relatively healthy? And that's been a knock on him ever since he's come into the league. Joel just cannot stay healthy. Like I said, when he's healthy and he's right, best player in the NBA, proved that with the MVP last year, was leading the pack this season as far as the MVP race is concerned, in my opinion. But he can't stay healthy. So I think Philadelphia, I think you just hope that Joel comes back in relatively short time. I think he may be out for another month, maybe. You know, and it's, you know, he's got to get into game shape and all of that. But I look at Philadelphia, you know, hold the line, hope, you know, somebody above you suffers a setback, but I don't see Philadelphia getting out of the first round. Speaking of the playoffs, you know, we talked about this on Tuesday. The Western Conference is really heating up, especially at the top of the pack. Can you, you know, I think, and this is just my prediction. This is just my prediction. Don't hold me to it. Don't hold me to it. I got the Clippers ending off with the number 1 seed. This team seems a bit different as far as the mentality of the star players. They're not. You would almost think. You would almost think when you watch the Clippers play, and I'm talking about the player, their star players, and it's the play of the team, it's the mindset, the vibe that this team is giving off. They're giving off the vibe that, hey, this is like a last dance kind of vibe. I'm not sure if anybody else out there is catching that vibe, but when you watch these Clippers play, they play a little bit harder. They seem to be more focused in on the regular season. You know, the past couple seasons, they've been kind of like mailing it in, like, yeah, you know, we'll just wait for the playoffs. But you know, the regular season is important. I mean, postseason is where you make your name, make your legend, but you know, the regular season is very important. And the Clippers, you know, in a 7-game series, I mean, if you was just to start the playoffs right now, as these teams kind of come out of the All-Star break, I know a lot of people would probably pick LA, pick the Clip joint to be hosting the NBA, hosting the NBA Finals game. And I'm of the mindset, with some of the concerns that you have with Denver as far as injuries. I'm talking about Michael Porter, and I'm talking about Jamal Murray. They've been kind of nicked up this season. You know, Joke is going to be Joke. But this Clippers team is saying, I don't know what it is. And I don't, you know, you can attribute maybe some of that to, you know, James Harden coming over. Maybe that's a culture change for them. I look at Westbrook, maybe him taking a step back and, you know, allowing fall into that 6-man role and, you know, doing what he can to help this team win. But you just see, you know, even with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, they play with a little bit of dog in them this year. They playing with a little bit of dog in them this year. How you doing, Miss Murph? Yes, Miss Murph. I'll be back over into space in a second. I got to get my stuff out, man. If you're coming in late, yeah, you know, come in tomorrow. We will be doing the Freestyle Friday show over here. You know, I got a couple things I want to kind of bring to the table for the people, and you know, we'll kind of go from there. As far as the other stuff, you know, right now I ain't motivated. I ain't motivated right now. I'm good. But you know, back to the basketball. I don't want to, you know, delve off into the bullshit. But you know, this Clippers team is seeming like you know, they're locked in. They're locked in. They're focused. They have a sense of urgency about them that I haven't seen for the past couple of years. You know, and it starts with the star players. You know, Kawhi and PG are known for, you know, taking time off, and I know the NBA has been pushing hard against teams for quote unquote resting star players, and you know, I get it. But this team is playing at another level mentally, and you know, it's clicking out there on the court for them. Speaking of not clicking, I think what you're seeing, um, I think you're going to see the second half of the season. I'm interested in see what direction Golden State takes their team. I mean, right now they're still in the hunt for the play-in tournament. Steph is still playing at a supreme level. Clay was recently moved to the bench. I'm not sure how long term that's going to be. Some of the young players are starting to kind of get together, but I'm looking at Golden State. Like, how do they finish? How they finish? The rest of this season. Because right now this is just average team, 500 record. Like I said, Steph has been doing Steph things, but this team, and you can attribute some of that to Draymond Green getting injured, suspended. Will Draymond make it through the rest of the season? That's the question. As a Warriors fan, you got to ask yourself. Will Draymond make it to the rest of the season without getting another suspension? If I had to put money on it, I think you'll see Draymond get another suspension, maybe because too many technical fouls. I don't think he's gonna. I hope not. I hope he's not thinking about striking another player. Hopefully not. But I want to keep a close eye on what Golden State does. What direction do they go? Do they push more towards the youth movement in the second half of the season? Like I said, Klay Thompson is coming off the bench. We're still waiting for a sighting of Andrew Wiggins to finally get it into gear. But the young players, have started to kind of come into their own, especially over the last couple of weeks. I'm talking about Kuminga, the other young guy they got. I can't say the guy's name. I think it starts with like a P or something like that. But they're kind of coming into their own. I'm liking what I'm seeing. I'm liking what I'm seeing from the young players. But I'm curious. Golden State, this is a team. It's kind of like in between. Is got pieces on this team that's ready to win now. I'm looking at the old guard of the Warriors. You got the young talent that's kind of coming of age. Like, if this team continues to be where they're at, when I'm talking about like on the fringes of the play-in tournament, do you as an organization, Golden State, I'm not saying you tank, I'm not saying you mail it in, but if you're if you're out of the hunt, do you push more to fight for a play-in tournament spot, or do you look more towards getting these young players even more minutes? I think this is the last ride. Regardless of what happens this season, I think this is the last ride you'll see Clay, Draymond, and Steph together. I think Clay's going to be out of there. I think they're going to move on from Clay. I think his price tag and his expectations for playing time are going to get him out of Golden State. May be wrong. He may be willing to take a pay cut. He's going to have to take a pay cut. If that's the case, but you're looking at the last ride of a dynasty. And I think there's hope for them in the future. Like I said, the young players are coming along. And it's finally, finally coming to fruition. They've drafted pretty well. But now you're giving those guys some burn. Yeah, you may have something there. But this is whether they get to the play-in tournament or not. I think you're looking at the end of the dynasty. I think this is like the last time you're going to see that trio together. So I mean, this enjoy for what it is, but I'm curious to see what direction Golden State takes. Do they keep giving the young guys burn, or do if they find themselves with a chance to get into the playoffs, or into the play-in tournament? Do they lean more on the veteran players who have not all, with the exception of Steph, have not produced at a consistent level all season? Like, what direction do you go? So that is a story to watch. Going into the second half of the season. Of course, I'm talking about my Lakers. Of course, I'm gonna talk about my Lakers. I have, what I'm looking for the Lakers is, can we, and I say we, I'm talking about the team. Can we find a steady rotation? Can Darvin Ham finally get it together? Find a steady rotation. Injuries have kind of messed up some of the possible rotations. We could have had, but I'm looking at, can Darvin Ham, because as we get closer to the playoffs, teams, start to kind of finalize their benches, and in the playoffs, your bench don't get longer, you get shorter. What rotation will the Lakers be pushing the second half of the season? You bring in Spencer Dinwiddie from the buyout, 6'5" guard, can play the point, can play the two. You got another ball handler out there on the floor that should take the load off LeBron. It should. But as we get closer and closer towards the playoffs, it seems like LeBron becomes more and more responsible for running the offense. Not that he can't, but I think with you kept D'Lo. You got Austin Reeves. You bring in Spencer Dinwiddie. You got guys who are able to set up other guys for shots and can get their own shots. I think the Lakers you have to manage. I think you got to manage. Your rotation the proper way coming down the stretch. You don't want to lean too heavily on AD and LeBron. Those are great players, but you don't want to up their minutes trying to stay into the playoff hunt. You think you got to work on solidifying your rotation going forward. You got some guys that'll be coming back from injury. Injuries may happen. I think when you look at the Lakers team, you can better sustain an injury better than most. It's a pretty deep roster, not necessarily overly talented, but you have a lot of depth. But I'm looking at you, Darvin Ham. Darvin Ham, all eyes are on you. Can you get a rotation that works? I have no questions about what I'm gonna get from LeBron James. The only question I ever have about LeBron is health. I do have questions about AD. Will we get the dog get AD on a very more consistent basis, or will we get what we got last year and what we've gotten in years? Kind of like he'll have a whole hum performance. Play a game where you realize talent wise he's one of the top 5 players in the league, but he never puts it out there on the court day in and day out, game in and game out. But I'm looking at the Lakers. See what your rotation looks like coming down the stretch. Back over to the East, can Boston continue to get distance from the rest of the East? Do the Boston Celtics, as it currently stands, have any serious competition for being the top team in the East? I'm gonna reserve my judgments and opinions for like when we get into the playoffs, when I kind of see what the makeup of the brackets kind of look like as far as the seeding is concerned. Right now, as it currently stands, I think you have several teams. I think the Knicks, the Cavs, and of course the Bucks can give them a competitive run in the playoffs, just because some of the talent that they have on those teams. But I don't right now. I'd be hard pressed to pick anybody in a 7-game series over Boston. I'm continuing watching the Porzingis. How well he's fit. It's almost been like a seamless fit into what they got going on in Boston. I thought it was going to be more of an adjustment period. I didn't think he was going to be able to fit in as seamlessly and as quickly as he did. But Boston kind of shot out the gate on everybody, and Porzingis has been a key part of that. Biggest question you have about Boston, you have about any team coming down the stretch, is health. But I think if healthy, Boston is clearly far, head and shoulders to me, the best team in the East. And I think when you look at the second half of this season, I think Boston's going to go on with a mindset they want to. I don't want to say impose their will on the rest of the East, but I think Boston's going to make a more concerted push in the second half of the season to really distance themselves record-wise from everybody else in the Eastern Conference. Cleveland has been a surprise as far as their season has gone thus far. New York is going to be a tough team once they get Randall back right. Jalen Brunson has been doing his thing this year. But in a 7-game series, I can't pick any of these teams. And I was expecting one of these teams at the trade deadline or in the buyout market to really make a significant acquisition to really push. I mean, think about Boston this year. That was different from last year. Offense is still as good as it was last year, but the defense has gotten back into the DNA. They've made a very concerted effort to be one of the better defensive teams in the NBA. And when you combine that with how many ways this team can attack you offensively, and I think Boston is coming they came into the season for me with a mindset, hey, we're going for the gusto, we're going for it all, short term and long term. You had to be signing to Jaylen Brown. You had Marcus Smart getting traded. You had Porzingis coming in. You had them picking up Drew Holiday in a trade. This Boston team looks like, hey, if they don't get it, I think if Boston fails to win the championship this year, not to say that you're going to see Jason Tatum leave or nothing like that, but you might have to, you're eventually going to have to make some changes as far as the money is concerned. But you're going to have to start really looking at the composition of this team, and what else do you think you can do to get over the hump? I think Boston right now is in a win now state. I'm enjoying watching them play. I think Boston's going to come out with the mindset, especially the second half of the season, to continue their level of dominance that they've shown, especially in the Eastern Conference, and put some considerable distance. Like I said, I was kind of perplexed. All-Star break and excuse me, trade deadline came. Nobody tried to make a real big move as far as like trying to compete with Boston. There was some guys out there. I thought maybe Siakam was going to be on the market. Again, I thought, I didn't like him going to Indy, but a Siakam style player was out there, and none of these teams, really made a push to try to acquire them. They just kind of like just stood pat. I know Cleveland was battling with injuries this season, and their hopes are, if we're healthy, we can compete. I just don't see nobody challenging Boston. Especially the second half of the season. I think they're going to come out with a mindset we're going to kill the rest of the East. And another team out in the East, and I'm looking at to kind of see how you kind of finish out this second half of the season. I'm looking at the Milwaukee Bucks. Milwaukee, in my opinion, got rid of the head coach for whatever reason. I don't know. I think it was more of a personality clash than anything, because the guy was winning. What more do you want? They bring in Doc Rivers. It's not been a seamless transition for Doc. Milwaukee, who over the past 3 to 4 years to be one of the better defensive teams in the league, has kind of fallen off. And I expected to drop off when you bring in Drew Holiday and you replace him with a Dame Lillard. Offense gets better, defense gets worse. But this team doesn't seem as locked in on the defensive side of the ball, and it's been kind of like a weird season. And when I say weird, you think you have Dame Lillard come in, you team it with Giannis, and you think this is still going to be the team that's going to run the East, and it's not look like that. Defensively, they're not good. They lose to teams they really shouldn't be losing to. Giannis is doing his thing, Dame, but I don't. It's like something is missing. They switch out the head coach, they bring in Doc. This is, Doc treating this like the preseason, like still trying to get to know the team. Like, nah, they brought you into a situation where they need you to win now. They need you to win now. And I'm not sure. Hell, I'm not sure in a 7-game series this Bucks team beats the Knicks. I'm and that's just my humble opinion. I mean, they did bring in Pat Bev for defense, but Milwaukee's just I don't know. It's just, I expected this team to play different, with Dame and switching out with Drew, but this I don't like the makeup of this team. I don't like, the body language you're seeing out there on the court. I'm just not liking it. I'm just not liking it. I'm not going to put all the blame on Doc. I think you got to put more of the onus for me in this situation. You got to put more of the onus on the players, because you had a coach that was winning. You didn't like how he was calling the rotations. In defense, you can scheme up defense, to hide players, kind of like what Dallas does with Luka. You can kind of scheme up, but at the end of the day, defense is about want. Defense is about effort more than anything else. You can be a marginally offensively good basketball player, but you can play defense. You can stay in this league, and defense is a mentality. And this Milwaukee team, this identity they have now is not defense. And I think for them, if you want to compete in the Eastern Conference come playoff time, defensively, you're going to have to get it done. Defensively, you're going to have to get it done. I don't think this team right now defensively can stop the Knicks. I think they'll struggle against the Cavs. I think Boston's going to, go to town on them, because this team doesn't seem to have a want to play defense. But I'm looking at Milwaukee the second half of the season. Doc, has a time. I didn't expect it to be utterly seamless transition, but when you have a veteran team, you have a veteran coach, get some of your principles in play. I mean, let's keep it a buck. It's not like basketball is a little different from football, where guys are not having to learn overly complex playbooks and lingo and language. I mean, the NBA is either isolation or pick and roll, or running the guy off screens. I mean, that's it. That's it's not complex. It's just not. It's either one-on-one, guy coming off a pick and roll, maybe running a pick and pop. But in NBA offenses, guys can come in off the streets, and you see it on a regular basis. Guys can come back from injury and get right into the flow of things. It's not like they're executing Omaha 97 scat back plays. It's not football. It's not football. But I'm looking at Milwaukee. I'm looking at Milwaukee for the second half of the season, the second stretch of the season. See what they're gonna do. In regards to some of the other teams and other situations I'm gonna be watching, I'm looking at the Sacramento Kings. I'm not sure what they got going on there. I don't, maybe they were, it was a young team. They had a lot of success last year. They just have not kind of put it together this season. They talent wise, they should be having a much better record than they do right now. But right now that they're fighting in that play in tournament mix. Sacramento, I think if they're able to get into the playoffs, I think they'll be a hard out for anybody. Because talent wise is a good roster. But what's going on, Sacramento? I mean, I think Sacramento, I'm gonna be watching them closely, especially over the next month. See if they can get their season on point, see if they can get hot. Like I said, they have the talent. You have De'Aaron Fox, you have Domantas Sabonis, you have a good young, talented team and pieces there. You had number 3 seed last year in the playoffs. You want to be considered one of the big dogs and contenders in this league. You got to do it year in and year out. I think Sacramento's kind of figuring that out, and I'm looking at them for the second half of the season to kind of get their season together, and get on the right path. Probably get in maybe as a 6 seed, but it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. The Western Conference is kind of stacked. It's kind of stacked this year. I mean, even when you look at the top, it's kind of stacked. Who's going to end up with the number 1 seed? I think the Clippers. I wouldn't be surprised if Minnesota ends up with the number one seed. I'm looking at Minnesota. As far as my questions about them, is they're going to lean on Ant down the stretch, or is it going to be trying to make Cat the number 1 option? I think this team plays a lot better when Cat is the number 2, and that's not a knock on him as talent wise, but I think when you have Anthony Edwards as the primary focus of the offense, he does so much as far as putting pressure with his ball handling, his shooting, long range, mid range, down in the paint. I think he puts so much more pressure on a team defensively that it makes it a little bit easier for Cat to kind of operate. I think Minnesota, if you're smart, and we're talking about the Minnesota Timberwolves here. If you're smart, I will be Ant-Man is option 1, and Cat is option 2. Very close option 2. I like Cat's game, but I think Anthony Edwards takes this team, makes them a lot more dangerous, because I think Ant, when all else fails, he can get his in a lot more different ways. The Cat can shoot the 3. We know that Cat can get it down low, but I think when you have Anthony Edwards with the ball handling skills that he has, put so much more pressure on the defense. I'm looking at Ant lead the way for them. That's about it's like I said. That's about it. That's about it. Some of the questions I have going. I'm very excited for the second half of the season. This is when I normally lock in, and NFL is over. I got the NBA. And we're gonna do what we do. Be sure to come in tomorrow. Like I said, Freestyle Friday show. I'm looking forward to doing that. I finally got some material that I think will be worthwhile bringing forth. And as always, let me get my behind up out of here. As always, y'all know the phrase that pays over here. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but every time you learn. And I'm out.